The desert winds howled across the broken surface of planet Alaris, lifting sharp dust into the air. Among the ruins of an ancient city, where no birds sang and no life grew, a figure walked alone. Her name was Kalia. She moved slowly, carefully, wrapped in a thin silver cloak. Her skin had a soft glow, almost warm like embers, and her long hair floated behind her, dark as burned coal. Her eyes, bright orange like fire, did not blink often. And her hands, though beautiful and gentle, were dangerous. Kalia was cursed. Everything she touched turned to ash. Trees, metal, cloth, even living beings. It had started when she was young, growing stronger each year. Her own people feared her. Scientists called it biothermal overload. Religious leaders called it punishment from the stars. Soldiers tried to use her as a weapon, but no one tried to save her. Now she lived in silence among the ruins, where no one dared to come until a human arrived. A small ship crash-landed nearby, kicking up dust and smoke. Kalia stood on a tall, broken pillar, watching from above. From the wreck came a man, tall, covered in dust, coughing hard. He looked around with confusion and walked with a limp. Kalia narrowed her eyes. A human? What was he doing on Alaris? The man dragged a heavy tool bag over his shoulder. Stupid engine, he muttered. Just needed one part. One part. He moved toward the ruins. Kalia stepped back, hiding behind stone, but she didn't leave. Hours passed. The man, his name was Daniel, searched through broken machines, rusted parts, and dead power lines. He was careful, smart. He knew how to take things apart without breaking them. Kalia found herself watching him with interest. She hadn't seen another living being in years. When the sun began to fall, Daniel lit a small fire using scrap wood. He sat beside it, holding a small tablet. The screen showed a list of engine parts. He looked tired but not scared. Kalia stepped out from the shadows. Daniel looked up sharply. His eyes widened at the sight of her glowing figure. Whoa. Hello? He said, standing quickly. Didn't know anyone was here. Go back, she said softly. Her voice was calm, but firm. Daniel took a step forward. She raised her hand. Don't come close. Daniel froze. Why? Kalia looked down at her hand. I don't want to hurt you. I'm not here to fight, he said carefully. I just need a stabilizer coil. I'll be gone after that. Kalia said nothing. The firelight danced across her face. Then Daniel did something strange. He held out his hand, not to touch her but to show peace. I'm Daniel, he said. Human engineer. I'm not armed. She looked at his hand. You shouldn't do that. Why? Because, she said quietly, everything I touch turns to ash. Daniel's face showed surprise, but not fear. Everything? He asked. Kalia nodded. Living or dead, stone or skin, I don't know why. My people left me here because they were afraid. There was a long pause. Daniel slowly sat back down. All right, I'll stay here. You can sit over there, deal? Kalia tilted her head. No one had ever responded like that. Why aren't you afraid? I've met machines that explode if you push the wrong button, he said with a small smile. Compared to that, you're at least giving me a warning. Kalia almost smiled, but it faded quickly. Hours passed. They didn't speak much. Daniel shared a dry food pack with her, sliding it across the sand with a tool. She nodded in thanks. Later that night, Kalia stood near the fire. Her hands hovered over the flame, not touching it. Daniel watched closely. Do you feel heat? He asked. Yes, she said, but it doesn't burn me, I burn it. That's wild, Daniel whispered. How does it work? Kalia shook her head. I don't know. It only happens when I touch. Not when I breathe, not when I speak. Daniel stood and dusted off his hands. Then maybe it's not a curse. Maybe it's just Uncontrolled energy. Kalia looked at him sharply. Uncontrolled energy kills. He didn't argue, but he didn't step away either. Then a strong gust of wind blew dust toward the fire. It flared and Kalia's cloak slipped. Her arm brushed Daniel's hand. She gasped. So did he. But nothing happened. Daniel looked down. His skin was fine. No burn. No ash. They both stared. You, she whispered. You didn't burn. Daniel looked at his hand, then at her. I guess I'm different. Kalia took a step back. No, this isn't possible. Or maybe, he said slowly, you're not as cursed as you think. Kalia's heart beat faster. For the first time in years, she felt something new. Hope. And she wasn't sure what scared her more. The power in her body, or the human who wasn't afraid of it. Kalia did not sleep that night. She stood by the fire long after Daniel had closed his eyes. Her mind was filled with questions. For years, she had believed her touch was death. Her hands had destroyed everything. But now, this human had stood, close to her. She had touched his skin, and he was still alive. She looked at her hand, the same hand that had once turned a tree into black dust. But tonight, it had touched Daniel, and nothing happened. Why? She thought. Why is he different? Morning came slowly on planet Alaris. The sun rose like a burning eye behind the dusty hills. Daniel stretched and yawned. His clothes were dirty and his face looked tired, but he smiled when he saw Kalia. Still here, he said. You didn't leave, Kalia replied. You didn't kill me, Daniel joked. Kalia didn't smile, but she stepped closer. A part of her still didn't believe what had happened. I want to try something, she said. Daniel looked curious. What is it? Kalia reached out her hand slowly. Let me touch you again. I need to be sure. Daniel hesitated for only a moment, then nodded. Okay. She gently placed her fingers on his arm. Her touch was warm, like standing near a campfire, but it didn't hurt him. No pain, no smoke, no ash. Daniel looked down at her hand. Still nothing. Kalia pulled her hand back. Her fingers trembled slightly. This has never happened before. Maybe your power doesn't work on humans, Daniel said. Or maybe it's not a curse, maybe it's connected to emotions, fear, anger, stress, things like that. Kalia looked unsure. I don't feel fear around you. Good, Daniel replied. Let's keep it that way. They sat together and ate a simple meal. Kalia didn't need much food, but she accepted a piece of dry fruit from Daniel's pack. She watched him repair a small scanner from his ship, his hands moving fast and skilled. You are a builder, she said. Daniel smiled. Engineer, actually, but yeah, same thing. Where are you from? She asked. Earth. A small blue planet far from here. You'd probably like it. There are trees, oceans, mountains, and people. Kalia's face grew quiet. People. I used to be around people. He looked at her. You want to tell me what happened? She was silent for a moment. Then, in a soft voice, she began. When I was young, I lived in a large city. My people were strong and proud. One day I got sick. After that, strange things started to happen. Plants died when I touched them. Clothes burned in my hands. Then, living things. Daniel listened carefully. My parents were afraid. Scientists came. They said I was unstable. They tried to study me, test me, but I kept hurting things even when I didn't want to. And then they left you here? Daniel asked. She nodded. They said I was too dangerous, a living weapon. So they dropped me on this dead world and left. Daniel shook his head. That's terrible. Kalia looked at him. You don't think I'm dangerous? I think you're powerful, Daniel said, and scared, but I don't think you're a monster. A strange feeling moved in Kalia's chest. It wasn't fear or anger. It was something lighter, something warmer. Was this what trust felt like? They continued working together. Daniel needed apart from a tower far across the ruins. Kylia guided him through the city. She knew the paths well. She had walked them alone many times. When they reached the tower, Daniel climbed up while Kylia waited below. As he worked, he called down to her. "So if I fix this and get off this planet, do you want to come with me?" Kylia looked up surprised. "Why would you offer that?" "Because I think you deserve to be more than a shadow in a broken city," he said. "You helped me. I want to help you." Before she could answer, a sudden sharp sound echoed through the air. Boom! A ship roared across the sky above them, low and fast. It circled once, then hovered above a nearby hill. Soldiers in black armor jumped out, scanning the area with red lights. Kylia's face turned pale. "They're from my homeworld." Daniel quickly slid down from the tower. "They found you?" She nodded. "They must have tracked my energy. They're here to take me back or destroy me." Daniel looked at her. "Then we run." "No," Kylia said. "They'll follow us. They'll never stop." He stepped in front of her. "Then I'll fight." "You'll die," she warned. Daniel placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "I didn't burn when you touched me. That has to mean something. Let's show them what that means." Kylia looked at him. This strange human who wasn't afraid. Her hands didn't shake anymore. She nodded. Daniel and Kylia stood behind the broken walls of the old tower. The sound of the enemy ship echoed in the sky. Dust blew around them as the soldiers landed. Their black armor shined, and their red visors scanned the ground like hungry eyes. "They know I'm here," Kylia whispered. Daniel looked at her. "Then we don't give them what they want." Kylia's hands started to glow. A faint heat moved around her fingers, but she pulled back. "If I fight, I might burn everything, even you." He reached out, calm and steady. "You didn't burn me before. Trust yourself and trust me." She took a breath and nodded. For the first time, she wasn't alone. The soldiers moved fast. 4 of them spread out, 2 heading toward the tower. One of them held a scanner. "Target detected. Energy reading confirmed. She's here." Daniel pulled out a small device from his tool pouch. It looked like a metal ball with blinking lights. "What's that?" Kylia asked. "Flash charge. I used it to blind sandwolves once. Might help us now." They waited until the soldiers came close. Daniel threw the device and it burst with a bright white light and a loud pop. The soldiers shouted and fell back, covering their visors. Kylia moved quickly. She waved her hands, and the sand around her heated, rising in a small wave of fire. But instead of burning wildly, it followed her motion like it was listening to her. "Good," Daniel said, amazed. "You're learning to control it." "I'm trying," she replied. "But it's not easy." Another group of soldiers moved. In this time they were ready. One of them pointed a stun blaster at Daniel. Kylia's eyes burned like fire. She stepped in front of Daniel and raised her hand. "Don't touch him." The soldier fired, but the blast melted in midair, disappearing into smoke before reaching them. Everyone froze. Kylia looked at her own hand. "I didn't mean to do that, but I think I stopped it." Daniel whispered. "You didn't destroy. You protected." Kylia turned to him. "Maybe my power can change, if I focus on protecting, not fearing." The soldiers tried again, surrounding them. One yelled, "Surrender the asset, she's not stable." Kylia stood tall. "I'm not your asset anymore." The ground beneath her feet began to warm. Ash and sand circled around her in a slow spiral. But nothing caught fire. It moved like a shield, alive, powerful, but calm. Daniel stepped forward. "You're not getting her," he said. "You left her here to die. But she's stronger than you ever imagined." A commander appeared from the ship. His armor was larger and he had a sharp voice. "She is a danger to every species in this galaxy. Step away, human." "I'm not afraid of her," Daniel replied. "You should be afraid of what you created and then abandoned." The commander raised his weapon. Kalia lifted her hand again. "Stop," she shouted, and for the first time, the heat did not explode. Instead, it formed a wall of fire between them and the soldiers. It burned in the air, but it didn't spread. It just stood there, tall and glowing, separating both sides. The soldiers hesitated. They hadn't seen this kind of control before. The commander lowered his weapon. "She has learned control." Kalia's voice was strong now. "I am not a curse. I am not a weapon. I am a person." Daniel added, "And she's with me. You want her? You'll have to go through me." The commander stared for a moment, then gave a signal. The soldiers pulled back. The wall of fire disappeared slowly. "This isn't over," the commander said. "You cannot hide forever." The ship rose into the sky and flew off, leaving the dust swirling behind them. Kalia fell to her knees, breathing hard. Daniel rushed to her side. "You did it," he said. "I didn't destroy," she whispered. "I protected you. And myself." He smiled. "You're stronger than they ever believed, and now they know it." Kalia looked into the distance. "They'll come back. Then we keep moving. We stay ahead. And maybe we find a place where your power can be something good." Kalia placed her hand on his. This time there was no fear, just warmth. "Maybe," she said. "You're the reason I didn't turn to ash." Daniel looked at her, his voice quiet. "Or maybe, you were never meant to be alone." The sun began to rise again, brighter than before. The desert was still, broken and silent, but now it didn't feel empty. Two figures walked through the ruins together. One was human. One was more than anyone had ever understood. The sky above planet Alaris slowly returned to silence. The enemy ship was gone. But Kalia and Daniel both knew it would return. They moved away from the tower ruins and found a safer place deep in the old mining tunnels. These tunnels were cold and quiet, filled with shadows and old machines. It was a perfect place to hide, at least for now. Daniel made a small camp. He placed lights on the wall and warmed a heat pack for Kalia. She sat beside him, arms around her knees. Her eyes glowed softly in the dark. "I used my power, and no one turned to ash," she said quietly. Daniel looked at her and nodded. "You didn't lose control. You protected us both." Kalia touched the stone floor gently. "Before you came, I wanted to disappear. I thought I was a danger to everything. I thought I deserved to be forgotten." "You don't," Daniel said. "You deserve more than this planet." Kalia looked at him. "You think I can still have a life?" He smiled. "Not just a life, a future, maybe even a home." She didn't speak for a moment, then asked, "Why are you helping me?" Daniel paused. Then he said honestly, "Because I see someone who was left behind, just like some of us on Earth. You were never the problem. The people who feared you were." Kalia stared at him. Her voice was low. "You don't know what I've done." "Maybe not," Daniel said. "But I know what you've done since I got here. You saved me. You stopped a battle. That's more than most people could do." Kalia closed her eyes for a moment. Then Daniel pulled out a small device from his bag, a scanner tablet. "I've been reading the energy signals you give off. They're not random. They're patterned, rhythmic." "Like a heartbeat?" she asked. "Exactly," Daniel said. "Your power is tied to emotion, but it's not just emotion. It's connected to something deeper, something natural." Kalia's eyes opened. "Then I'm not cursed?" "I don't think so," he said. "I think you were given something powerful without knowing how to use it." She nodded slowly. "Then teach me. Help me learn." Daniel stood and held out his hand. She didn't hesitate. Her fingers wrapped around his and he pulled her up. Her touch was warm but calm. They spent the next few days training in the tunnels. Daniel made targets out of old metal parts. Kalia learned how to focus her power. At first, small fires still appeared without warning. But slowly she learned how to guide the heat, to melt a bolt, not destroy a wall. She concentrated with her eyes closed, breathing slow. Good, Daniel said. Now try to burn that wire, only the red one. Kalia raised her hand. A small spark danced between her fingers. She pointed at the red wire. The flame hit it with perfect aim. The red wire curled and fell. The others stayed untouched. Kalia smiled. I did it. You're a quick learner, Daniel said proudly. But peace didn't last. One night while Kalia slept, Daniel stayed awake watching the scanner. It beeped. His face went pale. The signal was back. A fleet. 2 ships. And they were getting closer. In the morning, he told Kalia. She didn't panic, but her eyes were serious. They're not going to stop, she said. No, Daniel agreed, but we don't have to run anymore. What do you mean? Daniel pointed at the old mining tower's comm system. We can send a message, a live signal. Show the galaxy who you really are. Show them your control. Let them see you're not a threat. Kalia hesitated. They might still want to destroy me. But others might see the truth, Daniel said. It's a risk. But maybe it's your chance. She looked down at her hands. They didn't shake anymore. Okay, she said. Let's do it. They climbed the old tower again, using the remaining power from Daniel's tools to power the broadcast system. The screen glowed blue. The signal bar rose. You're live in 3, 2, 1, Daniel said. Kalia stood in front of the camera. Her heart pounded, but her voice was steady. My name is Kalia. You've been told I am a danger. That my touch turns everything to ash. That I cannot be saved. She raised her hand. A small flame formed above her palm. Then gently she lowered it onto a piece of metal. The flame melted a circle into the surface. Then she picked up a small flower Daniel had brought from his ship. She held it in her hand. Nothing happened. I am not a weapon, she said. I have learned control. I am not alone anymore. A human helped me believe that. Daniel stepped beside her. We're not asking for war, he said. We're asking for understanding. The signal broadcasted across local systems. Ships, stations, even passing traders saw it. Some turned away, but others watched closely. Kalia lowered her hands. I will not run anymore. I will not hide. She turned off the broadcast. Then she looked at Daniel. You helped me find my heart again. Daniel nodded. And now the galaxy knows who you are. The broadcast ended, but silence filled the room. Kalia stared at the dark screen. Her heart beat fast, not from fear, but from hope. For the first time in years, she had spoken to the galaxy. Not with fire or fear, but with her voice and her truth. Daniel stood beside her. You did great, he said. Kalia turned to him. Now we wait? He nodded. Yes, but not for long. Someone will answer. And someone did. That same evening, a signal came through. A voice spoke from a nearby patrol ship. It belonged to a woman, Commander Rylan, a leader from Kalia's homeworld. Her voice was calm but serious. We saw your message. You've changed, but not all will believe it so quickly. Kalia stepped forward to speak. I don't expect them to believe me, but I want them to see, to watch. I won't run anymore. There was a pause on the other side. Then Rylan said, We will come. Not with weapons, with questions. The transmission ended. Kalia looked at Daniel. She was my mother's old friend. Maybe she wants to help. Daniel gave her a soft smile. Then let's prepare for visitors. The next morning, a silver shuttle landed near the ruins. No guns, no soldiers. Just one woman in dark robes with a badge of peace on her chest. Her hair was short and silver, and her eyes sharp like a blade. Kalia stepped out to meet her, walking with Daniel by her side. Commander Rylan studied. You've grown. I had no choice, Kalia replied. Rylan looked at Daniel. And you're the human. I'm Daniel, he said, nodding. I didn't expect to get involved in anything like this, but I'm glad I did. Rylan turned. Back to Kalia. The council believes you are still dangerous. They're watching this moment carefully. Kalia breathed deeply. Then let them watch. She raised her hand slowly, and in front of them, lit a small flame in her palm. She closed her fingers around it and it vanished with no damage done. I can control it now, she said. I want to use it to help, not to harm. Rylan remained quiet for a long moment. Then she stepped forward and carefully reached out a hand. Kalia froze. This was the moment. Would her touch bring ash or acceptance? Kalia slowly placed her hand into Rylan's. She felt warmth, but nothing burned. The commander did not pull away. Your power no longer rules you, Rylan said. You have become something new. Kalia's eyes glistened with emotion. Then maybe it's time I left this place. Rylan nodded. You will not be hunted anymore. But the galaxy is watching. Be careful. As the shuttle flew away, Kalia turned to Daniel. You were right. My story isn't over. It's just beginning. He smiled. Where do you want to go? Kalia thought for a moment. Somewhere with stars, water, maybe trees. Earth? He asked. Is it beautiful? Daniel nodded. It has problems, like any world. But it also has people like you. People who are different, who rise when no one expects it. She smiled. Then I want to see it. They packed their things and prepared Daniel's ship. The broken panels were fixed, the engine cleaned, and the systems restored. Kalia sat beside him in the pilot seat as the ship lifted from the ground. She looked down one last time at the empty planet, the place she once called her prison. Now it was just dust and memory. You saved me, she whispered. Daniel turned to her. No, you saved yourself. I just reminded you who you are. Kalia took his hand. Still, everything I touched once turned to ash. But not you. Maybe, Daniel said with a smile, because I'm fireproof. They both laughed softly as the stars stretched before them. As they left Alaris behind, a message appeared on the screen. It was from a neutral science station orbiting a distant moon. They had seen the broadcast, too. Kalia, the message, said, we believe your power may have medical uses. It can break down harmful cells without harming healthy ones. If you're willing, we'd like to study this together with your permission. Kalia looked at Daniel. Her voice was quiet but strong. Maybe I wasn't built to destroy. Maybe I was meant to heal. Daniel nodded. And maybe the universe just needed a human spark to light that path. Final lines. Kalia no longer feared her hands, and Daniel no longer walked alone. In a galaxy that once turned away from them both, they became the light others would follow.